Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I am King Pigley. This is Gaming Imperfectly, the most imperfect channel on YouTube. And welcome to the channel. But if you're new to the channel, I am King Pigley, and I hope you like what you see. Guys, we're going back into the Missing 411 books, book series by a man named David Paulides. David was a police detective for over 35 years. After he retired, he got into writing books on missing person cases in North America and from around the world. I'll leave a description in the description. I'll leave a link in the description section below to where you can find out more about David Paulides' books, where to buy them, and also his YouTube channel, so you can maybe connect with him directly to hear about some more of these crazy, baffling cases. But stick around, because the case today is going to leave you just going, what in the heck? Every year, guys, hundreds of people go missing from around the world. Thousands even. And you know what? Out of all those people that go missing, a lot of them are found, some safe, some deceased, but there's a tremendous amount of them that are just never heard from again. And that's crazy. And this case is one of those cases as well. And it's about a man named Dr. Maurice Demetz. Doc, as he was well known by and called by his friends and family, they called him Doc. Doc Dametz was an incredible human being. He had an incredible life. And at the age of 84, one of his true passions and joys in life, after getting to be 84 years old, is the slow-paced life of going out looking for topaz. Look at rocks, minerals, gems, garnets, stuff like that. You know, he went digging in the soil looking for quartz and things that interested him. But he was kind of a rock hound in his later parts of his life. Now, he had been a dean at college. He had his PhD in theology. He had been a preacher. So when I say doctor, he wasn't a medical doctor. He was a doctor of philosophy and theology of the Christian religion. And he had even been a dean at a college in Colorado. He was an extremely intelligent man. But at 84 years old, as with a lot of people who are 84 years old, Doc had a hard time getting around. In fact, he had absolutely crippling arthritis in his knees. He had extraordinarily bad knees. And he had a severe blood condition, a severe medical condition dealing with his blood that required medical attention on a fairly regular basis, and was also pretty debilitating for him. And again, he's 84, guys. It's no spring chicken. And so when Doc went around anywhere, he usually had to have people take him and help him. And in fact, it was getting to the point in his life where walking without assistance was becoming almost impossible for Doc. But he still loved to get outdoors. He was a heck of an outdoorsman, and he loved to get out and rock hunt because, you know, that's a lot of sitting on the ground, digging through the dirt. And Doc could do that still, and he enjoyed that. On this particular day, it was April 29th, 1981, Doc Dametz and a good friend of his named David McSweeney decided to go out. Well, actually, I've read two different reports that said his name was David McSherry, and then I've read other reports that said David McSweeney. And this is also from David Paulides. So David Paulides says McSweeney. I'm going to call the guy McSweeney. David McSweeney went to Doc Dametz's house. Doc said goodbye to his wife, with, of course, David's help, got into the car, and they drove out to Pike National Forest. Now, Pike National Forest is about 45 miles southeast of Denver, Colorado. It's a beautiful national park. You know, it's obviously a part of the National Forest Service. And Doc went there on a really fairly regular basis when he was rock hunting because it was a place that was rich in gems and things that he was looking for. And this particular time, he was looking for topaz. And strangely enough, he went to a place with David called Topaz Point in Pike National Forest. It was a beautiful day, completely clear, no bad weather. It was a little cool because it's April, and, you know, even though it's late April, it's April in the Rocky Mountains. So, yeah, it was a little crisp outside, but not frigid by any stretch of the imagination. When they first got there in the morning, David helped Doc get out of the car, and then on the east side of the road, they moved into the forest about 50 yards. They found a nice spot together. They sat and dug. David actually got up and went about 35 feet, 50 feet away from Doc, sat and dug his own spot. They came back together at lunchtime. David, of course, helping Doc back to the vehicle. They sat and ate lunch together. After lunch, they went to the west side of the road. And on the west side of the road, there was kind of an embankment. And so Doc needed an extraordinary amount of help from David to even get down this embankment safely. And or at all, because without David's help, Doc would not have been able to make it down this hill. And so he does, though. They get him down the hill, and he takes Doc out into the woods about 50 yards. He sits Doc down on the ground. Doc says, yeah, this is a great spot. I'm going to dig here. He starts going and doing his thing, and David walks off. Now, at this point in time, David walked away about 50 yards. Now, with all the missing 411 cases, guys, the cases that I've covered in the past, these other videos, I'll leave a link so you guys can go and check them out if you want to, is that there's one thing that always happens. It's called the point of separation. And there's always one moment where people aren't paying attention. They're not, just for a moment, aren't looking, don't keep people in their eyesight, turn their backs for a second. For whatever the case, that point of separation occurs, and then people go. And at this point in time, unfortunately, for the Dametz family, this is when Doc disappeared. When David McSweeney went over to dig his own hole, he said goodbye to Doc, went over there. They dug for a couple of hours, actually. He came back, and Doc was still sitting there. He told Doc, hey, in about 15 minutes, we're going to go. I'm going to go pack up my tools. Now, the thing is that Doc Dametz at this point in time was wearing like blue coveralls and a white cap and a white shirt and some boots. And he had a little cloth bag, like a carpet bag almost, that he was carrying his tools in, his digging tools. Because you're not like digging through the ground with your hands, you know. I mean, you got a trowel and you got a little shovel and stuff like that. So Doc had his tools. And so when David told him, hey, in 15 minutes we're going to go, I'm going to go pack up my tools and I'll be back to help you. Doc said, sure, no problem. David went, packed up his tools, walked back over. Wasn't gone 15 minutes. 15 minutes, guys. Came back over to where Doc Dametz had been sitting, and all that was there was the hole that he had dug. No sign of Doc at all. Gone. David started calling for him. The first thing that struck David as completely insane was the fact that Doc was gone at all. For a minute, it almost went into David's head, well, maybe he just went back to the car. Makes sense, you know, just to go back to the vehicle. But then it hit him. Wait, this is Doc, and Doc can't walk. I mean, he can walk, guys. He wasn't like crippled to the point to where his legs didn't work at all. You know, it wasn't debilitating arthritis, crippling arthritis like that. It was to the point to where he was disabled enough to where he needed assistance to walk, for sure. And going up and down crazy terrain wasn't within the realm of possibility at all. So, David started honking the horn and calling for, Doc and was completely baffled because when he went back to the car, there's no Doc. He went back down there and scoured. He looked around for maybe 30, 40 minutes. But how far could Doc have gone? And so he's just at a loss. David goes back up to the road, and there just happened to be some passerbys at that point in time. So he says, can you please go and notify people that I can't find my friend? You know, he's 84 years old. He's completely gone. So they did. They went and got the authorities. The sheriff's department was the first people to come on the scene. The first sheriff got there, started looking around. David took him down to where Doc was. They looked the ground. There was no sign of this guy at all. No sign. There was no disturbance. There's no blood. There's no sign of foul play. There's no nothing. Completely gone. Again, totally baffling. At this point in time, the sheriff got on his radio, called out more sheriffs. More sheriffs showed up. And after a few days of looking, they got search and rescue involved. The whole kit and caboodle, guys. They got dog teams. They got helicopters. They got everybody. Hundreds and hundreds of people came out into the woods of Pike National Forest looking for Doc Dametz. And no sign of him. I mean, he's just completely vanished. To this day, no sign of Doc Dametz has ever been found. Doc is gone. How an 84-year-old man who can't hardly walk completely vanishes without a trace is beyond me. They looked for him for 5 days before they finally called off the search and just said, yeah, he's gone. we don't know what to do. I think it's an exceptionally short period of time that they looked for Doc Dametz. And in fact, there's such an injustice that was done to this case is that when David Paulides, with the Missing 411 book, he also has 2 documentaries. And in one of his documentaries, David Paulides covered the Doc Dametz story and actually reached out to local officials in Colorado and put so much attention back on the case, because remember, this happened in 1981, that they were kind of forced to relook at the case. And they did, but unfortunately, I mean, guys, this is almost 30 years ago that this happened. If there was any evidence at all of anything, it's long gone. But they are looking back into the case right now. One of the most heartbreaking things is that after 5 days of searching, they called off the search for Doc. Mrs. Dametz, Doc's wife, they were married for over 40 years. I can't imagine the loss you have for somebody that you've shared that much of your life with, who just vanished. No closure, no goodbyes, just gone. And what's really sad is that she wrote a letter to the governor of Colorado at the time. His name was Lamb, Governor Lamb. And I'll actually put that letter up. Read it for yourselves. Pause the video. Take a look at it. Because it's sad. It's exceptionally sad when you read it. But there's an interesting line in that letter that she wrote that states that she believed that Doc might have met foul play and that someone carried him off. It even uses that language, that someone carried Doc off because he couldn't walk. She knows, his wife of 40 years knows, that Doc couldn't easily get around. And so, but to use that language, carried off Doc, why wouldn't his friend David McSweeney, who was 50 yards away, hear him call out or yell if something would have carried him off? If it was an animal attack, there would have been blood. There would have been a death struggle. Even for an 80-year-old man, there would have been blood, even if he didn't struggle. And they also questioned heavily David McSweeney because there was speculation that he killed Doc. But he was a family friend. He had known them for years and years and years, guys, and was quickly cleared of any wrongdoing or suspicion. Completely cuckoo bird. Unfortunately, when Mrs. Demetz wrote that letter to Governor Lamb, he did get back to her, but it was to tell her that, unfortunately, he couldn't do anything for her. That if local law enforcement and everybody said that they searched, and that he did not get involved. And so the case did lay dormant for many, many years before David Paulides shone some light back on it, and they've opened the case back up. But again, as of yet, no sign, no new evidence, no new anything as far as what happened to Maurice Doc Demetz. What a truly baffling case. What do you guys think happened to Doc? Do you think I'd love to hear your opinion. Leave something in the comment section below, because I just absolutely love hearing you guys' thoughts on these cases. Also, if you haven't done it yet, smashing that like button helps me out, lets me know you're enjoying the content. And if you're new to the channel, or you just happen to stumble on the channel, I surely hope you'll consider subscribing. Keep coming back, because we've got more crazy, true stories coming here on Gaming Imperfectly. But that's it for King Pigley. I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next video.